we're back. Episode 2. How exciting.
Thank you for making it through episode 1 of Triplet Talk. And now we're on episode 2.
Yep. We made it. We're here.
We made it. We're here.
Thanks for joining.
So last time we talked, we were talking about when we first found out we were having triplets. Mm-hmm. So now our next topic is pregnancy. So from finding out we have triplets all the way, the whole time of being pregnant.
Yeah.
So
I was like very curious where you were going to go. I was like, this is a very mom-based podcast topic.
Oh, I'll surprise you. I'll surprise you.
So
let's just start that now.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, everybody. Now it's time to hear the father's point of view. All right? Now, some of you are saying, Vince, just sit down, okay? What are you going to have to contribute to the pregnancy aspect of this? You weren't pregnant? Let me tell you something. Let me just tell you something, okay? My perspective, and this is for all the dads out there, we contribute a lot. We're not creating life, but we're making sure that the person creating life is doing great, is doing fine. And so that's why I'm going to talk about my experience with my wife being pregnant. So after we found out that we were having triplets, and we were talking to that one doctor, the doctor who had triplets of his own actually recommended these specialists that specialize in multiple birth pregnancies. And so I was a little leery at first, so was my wife. But after meeting these specialists, it was just, they had all these pictures in the walls of twins and triplets and quads, like multiples was their bread and butter. I mean, I think they said like singletons suck on one of the flyers. I don't know. That's just speculation. But basically, this was just all they did. And we felt confident, so we went with them. And so, with my wife being pregnant with 3 babies, something interesting kind of happened. So, she never got any morning sickness, at least none that I knew of. I never saw her once vomit. She didn't have any sickness where like she couldn't eat anything. Her biggest thing was she was always exhausted. And there was times where she feel like she was going to pass out. Probably because there's 3 babies just sucking the life force out of her. And so our specialist recommended that she needs to take a ton of vitamins, right? From vitamin A to Z, okay? I think vitamin Z was from the Detroit Zoo. We had to take her to the zoo a couple times to see the seals. I don't know. But basically every letter in the alphabet for vitamins she had to take, all right? And so she had these giant pill boxes. Every day she had to crank these things out like she was someone in a nursing home. And that was starting to help. But she was still, for the most part, exhausted. She would go from, basically, she'd be in bed all day, and then she'd come out to, like, get enough energy to, like, go downstairs and eat and talk, and then she'd have to be pretty much right back upstairs because she was just so exhausted. She wasn't, I think it's bedridden. She wasn't bedridden. She wasn't, like, doctor didn't say she had to be in bed all the time. Doctors actually wanted her to be moving a little bit more, be a little more active, but she would just get so exhausted. And that was kind of her big thing. Was, especially holidays were starting to come up. Our babies were born in November. So by Halloween, she was just done. And as the husband, I'm feeling fine. There's nothing wrong with me. But she wants me to be with her all the time. So I'm in bed with her at like 6 p.m. just watching shows while she's sleeping. I was trying to be the best husband I can be, And here's something that was very interesting for me was I've always heard about guys in a way being attracted to their wives that were pregnant. They thought their wives were beautiful when they were pregnant. I knew that my dad in particular would always say, just kind of like out of the blue, he'd be like, yeah, your mom was so beautiful when she was pregnant with you guys. And I'd be like, Papa, I'm just asking you if I can buy an Xbox. I don't even know how this came into topic, but he would just tell me. And my mom wasn't even there. So it was very genuine. But seeing my wife being pregnant, and she still doesn't believe me. She still thinks I'm lying. But she was glowing. I mean, she was glowing. She was gorgeous. I just, and it's a different form. It's not like a lust attraction. It's just beautiful. You're just in awe of your wife, even though she was exhausted and she didn't really feel very good and she just felt horrible, and she always thought about, she had to put on makeup. She didn't put on any makeup, or she did put on makeup and stuff, but regardless, it's like it's beyond just makeup. Okay, she had this glow about her that if it wasn't physically, if it wasn't such a physical toll or a financial toll of being pregnant, I'd probably just have her pregnant all the time. I'm sorry. Like I just thought that she just looked amazing, and I was always super excited to see her and to be around with her. So even though I was going to bed at like 6 p.m., or being with her all day when I wasn't working, I was just in awe of her. I just thought that she was just so gorgeous. And one thing was interesting was when we had our baby shower. We had it a little bit earlier because we weren't sure what was going to happen. And so people were saying, oh, you don't even look like you have 3 babies. And my wife felt like she had 3 babies, but people were telling her that she didn't look like she had 3 babies. And she would just tell me, basically, I'm paraphrasing, she's like, if someone tells me one more time that I don't look like I'm pregnant with 3 babies, they're going to get stabbed. I might have added that part in, but that's how I interpret it. That's what I heard. I don't know. But so she didn't, everybody kept saying, oh, you don't look like you got 3 babies, because apparently everyone knows what being pregnant with 3 babies looks like. And so one of the big things was we were constantly going to the doctors, right? Not for emergency reasons, but constantly getting ultrasounds, constantly checking on these 3 babies. And as a father, you're sitting there, you're watching the ultrasound, and you're like, every time, like, okay, here's another round. Let's not hope for any more surprises. I'm pretty much good with surprises in the ultrasound room forever. But so every time they would show, like, okay, we're going to view, baby A, because they usually label them baby A, B, and C. And every time I did that, I'd kind of just hold my breath a little bit. And then they'd be like, okay, yep, heart's good. I'm like, oh, okay, good. Okay. Now we're going to check baby B's heart. And I go, and I freeze up again. Because every time you're just like, oh, man, hope it's good. Hope it's fine. I go, yep, it's fine. Ooh, sigh of relief. And it's just crazy because even at that point, right, the babies aren't even out yet. They're still in development, and your emotions are completely different from before. Like when you're sad, you're at like a 1, right? That's your worst. Oh, I had a bad day. Everyone was mean to me. I lost $20. Horrible day. And then a 10 is like, great, I got promoted. I found that $20. Everyone was super nice to me. Today was a great day. Well, like when you're a parent, the emotional range is like -6 and like 12 or 15, So when I would hear this news, like, yep, everything's good, my body would just skyrocket complete joy. And then when they're like, all right, we're going to check the next kid, you're starting to get that panic. Like, oh, I hope everything's okay. Hope everything's okay. You got this. You got this. And they're like, yep, they're fine. I'm like, whew, that's great. And so one of the things they were constantly prepping us is that originally the due date for one baby was December, but since we're having triplets, they had to we can only go up to 35 weeks. So it'd be November 15th. And the reason why they do that is because anything past that becomes too dangerous for the mother and the children. And so a lot of parents with multiples will tell you that, yeah, the goal is 35, but that's like, if unicorns are flying and pigs are flying and, you won the lottery. A lot of people I hear, it's like 32 weeks, 33 weeks, sometimes 28 weeks, sometimes even earlier. It just really depends. There's so many variables that are against you. And somehow my wife was determined, and she was like, we're getting to that 35-week mark. And she rested. She followed the doctor's orders, And not saying that if you followed doctor's orders and you had it earlier, Not saying that that's a problem, but for some reason, she just had it in her mind. She's like, I'm making it to that date, and no one's telling me otherwise. And sure enough, on November 15th, she walked into the hospital pregnant with 3 babies, roughly 12 to 13 pounds of baby inside her. And she's like, hey, I'm here to give birth today. I mean, she was just like a boss, and I'm just in awe. And so I've gained huge respect for my wife, huge respect for being able to carry 3 babies. But, you know, if you have 1 baby, I mean, that's not a big deal, right, ladies? I'm going to get murdered. But so from the father's perspective, I think the things that surprised me the most was, one, my wife was just glowing when I saw her. I mean, she felt horrible. She felt disgusting. She felt terrible. But I was just in awe. And every time I tell her that, she'd think I was lying. She'd think I was trying to be nice. But it's a really amazing thing. It's a different level of beauty that guys who are married without kids or guys in relationships, it's hard to see, you know, and it's hard to explain. But she just looked gorgeous. And the fact that she had 3 babies, to me, that was just the ultimate glow. And then also, too, like I said, the babies weren't even born yet, and I was already worried about them through every time we went to see an ultrasound. And luckily for us, we were very blessed. There wasn't any real problems. The babies were doing everything they were supposed to be doing, and we were able to make it to that actual date, which is awesome. And so, you know, and then it's just really spending time with my wife during this time, which was kind of difficult because all she really wanted to do was sleep, and she just wanted to rest. And there were times where she had to get up, she had to get moving. We had to make sure she was eating and, all that good stuff. And she actually had a difficult time eating. A lot of times you think of, the pregnant mother, she eats everything that's around her. She gets all these cravings, and she's got to eat this, this, and that. Well, with 3 babies, you don't really have room. And so when you're eating, you already feel like you're full, and you just feel like you're forcing food down. But she knew that she was determined. She's like, I have to eat. I have to eat for these babies. But I really don't remember. There was one time early in the pregnancy, she was craved like ice cream for a day. And she's very impartial to ice cream. And like, that was it. She just never really had like a lot of the stereotypical things when you're pregnant. She didn't have morning sickness. She didn't have crazy cravings. Her emotions, I honestly, I don't even really remember too much. I just remember that she was very tired, and I just thought that she just looked gorgeous. I just thought that she looked great. And so I know she's going to hear that, and she probably won't believe me, but that's okay. That's okay. But it's something that I think is a real treat for fathers. I think that's something that it's hard to explain, and I think that's something really great. And it's amazing how you're already put into a parent mode before the kid's even born. Or, for my case, before 3 kids were born. One thing I want to add in during the pregnancy, which was kind of a fun part, was the finding out the genders of each baby. Finding out the sexes of each baby. So, we were trying to figure out names. Okay, so we figured, let's do 3 girl names, 3 boy names. And for us, it was very easy to find 3 girl names, which I thought would be a little more difficult. But we both kind of clicked on a couple names. We both knew we wanted to name a daughter Sophia one day. We knew that back before, we were right when we were trying to have kids. We're like, if we ever have a daughter, we want to name her Sophia. We just really like that name. And then I liked some other names like Rosalia. I liked Olivia. I liked a lot of the Ias. Those were kind of my thing. The Sophia, Rosalia, Olivia. There is another one. Isabella, I think. And she liked a lot of those names too. But we didn't want our kids to have names that were super rhymey. Some people like that. That's fine. We didn't want to have them super rhymey. We didn't want to have them all the same letter. We wanted each of them to feel unique. And so my wife really liked the name Charlotte. And I always think of the band Good Charlotte. And I thought, why would we name them after a band? But then she started to show me people named Charlotte, and it kind of, like I said, it didn't rhyme with Sophia and Charlotte, two different babies. So I like that. And then we had a hard time deciding boy names. And so with the boy names, we were kind of going back and forth. I liked more Italian names like Giovanni and Lorenzo. Right, she liked names like Jackson and Noah and Peter. I'm like, no, not gonna name him Jackson. If your name is Jackson, or if you name your kid Jackson, that's fine. But with the last name like Persichetti, you gotta give it a little flair. It's gotta be a little olive oil friendly. You know what I'm saying? It's gotta be something that you see like on a menu at a nice Italian restaurant. And so we really couldn't figure out names. There was a point where I really wanted to name him after my father, Paolo. And she really wasn't as a fan of that. She wanted really name him Paolo. My father really didn't even like his name that much, but I liked it. It was the name after him. But she said, "Well, what about Vincent?" I'm like, "Well, we can't have two Vincents. If I'm named Vincent, the kid's named Vincent, everybody's confused." But then she explained to me that her grandfather was named Thomas, and his firstborn son was named Thomas, and then his firstborn son was named Thomas, which is her cousin, and he always talked about how he really liked having the same name as his dad. And I remember growing up that I kind of wanted to have the same name as my dad. I wanted to be named Paolo when I was real little. And so I thought, okay, we can name him Vincent. I like that name. Obviously, I have it. And then his middle name was going to be Paolo. And so that's how we came up with the names. And when we found out that we were having 2 girls and a boy, that made it easy. Because I think if we had like 3 boys, I think it just would have been World War III. The names would have been all crazy. We didn't know. We were really just banking on one boy. I mean, I wanted 3 boys, to be honest, but I didn't want to have to figure out the names for them. So that's why we have Sophia, Charlotte, and Vincent. And we had a great gender reveal party where we announced all the names. And I did it nice because even though the order was, they found out baby A was a girl, baby B was a boy, and baby C was a girl, I did 2 girls when I revealed it, and then revealed the boy at the end. So that way people are thinking, oh man, Vince is gonna have all girls. It's like, nope, I got a boy in there too, and just a little extra surprise. I probably went over my time, but see, look at that. I went over my time, and you guys thought I wasn't going to talk about anything about the pregnancies. But here we go. And that was my perspective of my wife being pregnant.
All right, episode 2. Here we are. Curious to hear Vince's take on the pregnancy of triplets. Haven't listened to it yet, but all right. So pregnancy. Oh boy. I think it's something that all girls, women who haven't been pregnant are just a little like uneasy and kind of not afraid, but it's an unknown. So there's always fears and worries there that kind of, follow that. So obviously this is my first pregnancy, with 3. So it was kind of a crazy thought, you're kind of thrown in kind of to the deep end, so to speak. But yeah, so crazy, obviously overall, but I've always kind of had no one likes to go to the doctor, let's be honest. And I never really, thank goodness, I never really was sick too much growing up. The occasional physical, everything, by the books. I never really went into the doctor for any extra visits or anything. So when I found out I was having triplets and it turned into a more, serious kind of situation where I had to see a specific doctor, I couldn't see my OB anymore. I had to go to maternal fetal medicine. I was a little worried about that. But it's something where you're told that, and it, kind of what we touched on last episode, where your mama bear and my mama bear instinct kicked in, and I definitely feel like everything that happened to me during the pregnancy, I really wasn't afraid of it. I wasn't scared anymore because I knew that it wasn't just me. It wasn't me, not liking to get shots, not liking, certain things at the doctor. I knew I needed to have certain things done to ensure that my babies were okay. So, and it's crazy because before you're pregnant, you're just like, oh my gosh, all the appointments, all the testing, and it was not at all what I would have thought. And I really am proud of myself for that. I think back, and I was initially very, very afraid of it. And I kind of overcame it. And now it's like, anytime I have to like think about going to the doctor, it's just like not a big deal. But back to pregnancy stuff. Early pregnancy, I had no morning sickness whatsoever, which if you have morning sickness now and you're listening, oh my gosh, I've heard horror stories. I've heard crazy, crazy stories. I am so blessed that I didn't have any type of morning sickness. I was a little bit dizzy or uneasy in the morning. I never threw up or anything. But very, very thankful that I didn't. The doctor had kind of mentioned that if I did, it could have been enough to like completely wipe me out, where I was just like unable to do anything, or just totally, bedridden basically with the amount of hormone levels that you have with 3 babies. So honestly, the first trimester, I was pretty good. I was, I wasn't sick. I was very tired. I would say that was probably the biggest hurdle that I had to jump. Very, very early on, extremely tired. I mean, I would go to work. Some coworkers that I used to work with will probably remember and I hadn't told them I was pregnant yet, but I would be sitting at my desk and I would just be like, oh my God, like I'm not going to make it. And didn't feel sick, but I was so tired, and I would just kind of like close my eyes, and like I had a big screen in front of me so I could kind of get away with it. And I was always complaining of being tired, and I'm like, they're going to find out that something's wrong. No one did until I told them, but very, very, very tired. I used to lay in bed when I got home after work, and I would do the Panera online ordering and I would like be laying completely under the sheets, and I would like order it, and then I would like send a quick text to Vince, and I'd be like, the order will be ready at like 4:45. Like, and I would just, because I knew I had to eat, and I would just fall back asleep. So exhaustion. And doctor's appointments like crazy, ultrasounds like crazy. I actually filled a scrapbook completely with the ultrasounds. Early on, we were going every couple weeks, I would say, to the doctor just to make sure their growth and everything was progressing the way that, the doctors wanted. It was a little difficult at first with doctors too, because I was seeing a couple different ones at first when I was kind of making the transition to the more multiple, specific doctors. So there was a little confusion there, but once everything was figured out, it was good. And I was really close with the doctors and nurses that I was seeing. So that was actually very helpful in kind of your pregnancy journey in general. I'm trying to think here. Second trimester. Yeah, I was starting to feel it then. I think I was feeling like a lot of backache. I was obviously still tired. Couldn't eat. I think that is probably the weirdest thing that happened to me. Most, pregnancy, anything you see in the movies, you read about, literally anyone you talk to, they're like, oh my God, I couldn't stop eating. I was eating pickles. I was eating mayonnaise. I don't know if the mayonnaise one's real. But just like weird things that they had cravings for. It was so hard for me to eat. And I think my husband and my close family would know better than anybody. I would eat the littlest amount of food and I would just like lay down and I'd be just like heavy breathing for like a very long time because there was no room when the babies were growing. By the second trimester, it was like food or babies, and the babies were gonna win, but like I needed food, so it was just a constant like, oh my gosh, I can't, I can't breathe. Oh, right now talking about it, I can, I feel it. It was horrible, but that was probably the biggest letdown. I was pretty excited to get all those weird cravings and just like eat a bunch of food. But that was not the case. So everybody's pregnancy is different. Let's see what else was happening second trimester. Yeah, so the first trimester I didn't have any morning sickness and I passed that point where, there's a little window where kind of right when you're pregnant, you would get morning sickness and then it would trail off. And second trimester was I was way past that point, but I was getting pretty like dizzy and uneasy when I would, go up the stairs or I would walk a certain distance or sometimes when I would stand up after sitting for a while. And I was constantly like bringing it up to my doctor, like this is kind of a weird thing. And they were kind of just like, well, you are pregnant with 3 babies. And I'm like, yeah, but like, is that normal? I guess that's normal. I've never done this before. So, and I couldn't really talk to people about it. Typically people don't have 3 babies. So yeah, hard to relate with others there. But it wasn't until I got to the doctor that I delivered with, I was finally kind of complaining to all the previous doctors that I had kind of started to feel this way. And he was like, well, you're taking these vitamins, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm taking like 1 of 15 of the ones on that list. And he's like, oh my gosh, like you need to get on this now, basically. Because all the babies were absorbing all of my nutrients, clearly, and leaving me with nothing. So he's thinking, well, that's probably why you're starting to feel a little uneasy. And, and the amount of vitamins that I had to take was insane. If I can find a picture, I will put it right here because it's nuts. It was day and night. I had to divide it because there were so many, and I had to take them with food. And I actually never counted how many I had to take a day, but it was probably over 30, and they were huge. And I was never good at swallowing pills. I was the kid that had to have the liquid medicine always. So this taught me real quick to put on some big girl pants and learn how to swallow giant pills. And I learned really fast. And that was nuts. And I actually found that I had one of those like old people pill containers with the like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I found it in my stuff the other day and I literally I had to throw it out. It was, it was too many bad memories. I couldn't handle it. Yeah, then towards the end, so I delivered the triplets. The plan was to make it to 35 weeks with how everything was going with the pregnancy. And I was having a very good pregnancy for triplets. I think it was my age. I'm on the taller side. All the things were kind of lining up, which is great. I'm very, very blessed that everything went well. Because you do worry. I mean, you're always worrying. You're just hoping you're doing the right thing. You're eating the right thing. You're sleeping enough. You're exercising enough. I mean, luckily, I didn't have too many things to worry about there. Thank goodness. I mean, I should have had a bunch. I mean, with just triplets alone, you'd think that, you know, the worries would just be endless. But towards the end, I definitely wasn't leaving my bed very much. I was, you know, getting up to go to the bathroom every second because that's really fun. I couldn't sleep very much. And I feel like these are pretty normal pregnancy things. If you've been pregnant, you've definitely experienced that. Yeah, nothing I wore fit. I mean, I had probably like an outfit or two that I could wear. I mean, by the end, it was like the most oversized shirts. I actually asked my dad, like, can I borrow some of your like old, you know, like workout shirts you don't wear anymore, because I just don't want to buy any more clothes. Also had that pups. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of pups rash. Like, you're going to answer me. I'm talking to no one. But I developed pups rash towards the end, which was this like horribly itchy, like, oh, it was horrible all over my stomach. And my doctor was like, oh, it'll go away. Like, don't worry about it. And thank goodness it did. I was kind of freaking out that something was going on. But I had one time when I had to go to the ER during the pregnancy. It was fairly early on. I think I was about 17, 18 weeks. I could be wrong. Pregnant at the time. And I was feeling these weird, I could pinpoint the pain in my side, and I just didn't feel comfortable with it. And it was like a pulsating pain. And I remember it was late at night, and I was kind of like timing them on my phone, and they were very synced. And I was very scared, and I wasn't sure what to do. And I ended up calling my doctor, and he had told me, you know, you got to do what you feel comfortable with. He's like, it's most likely nothing. He was such a nice guy, by the way, but, cause I called him at like, it was close to midnight, and he was like so chipper and just the best. And he said, it's most likely nothing, but just to give you peace of mind, you know, you could go in and go to the ER and just make sure everything's fine. And we went through the whole crazy process of the ER, and I'm freaking out because I'm thinking the worst because, you know, obviously. And all I wanted was an ultrasound to hear their heartbeats, or just where they put that, I don't know what it's called, on your stomach, and they just listen for heartbeats. That's all I wanted the whole time. They were taking blood. They were listening. I think they thought it was something with my kidneys. I can't even remember. It's so bad. And it's like hours later, and I'm laying there, and finally somebody comes in, and they said, we're just going to listen for heartbeats. And I'm still feeling the pain at this point. It's still happening pretty consistently. And as soon as I felt like the instrument kind of touched my stomach and I heard the 3 heartbeats, it was like the pain went away. I didn't care. As soon as they said everything's fine, it literally went away. And it's just this incredible, maybe it's like a placebo thing. I have no idea. But it kind of ties back in with the fact that once you become a mom, even before your babies are born, you go into this mama bear mode where you're just like, everybody get out of my way. Like, we're going to make sure they're fine before I'm fine, you know, because you're kind of taking the back seat. And yeah, I think it was one crazy journey. I guess I'm going to wrap this up. I took a picture every week of my pregnancy, and I still haven't gotten through all of them. I really want to upload them soon to Instagram. And it was really, really cool to see that transformation of early pregnancy, when I was doing my hair and I looked really cute with my makeup and I had jeans on. And then, you know, you're slowly starting to turn into this like sleepy, like whale of a person. But, you know, I have stretch marks, I have scars. I had a C-section, so I have a C-section scar. And, I think a lot of moms nowadays, which is really refreshing, are proud of their scars. And I'm not sure if it was like this back in the day. But I know on Instagram, when you kind of look around at other moms that have had C-sections, they're proud of their scars and their marks and how their body is after. And I would say that I am, it took a while to get used to. It's obviously different, but I'm a different person too. So, I wouldn't expect my body to be exactly how it was before because I'm not. And, kids don't care what you look like. Your husband, luckily my husband is super supportive. And, it was crazy. It was a wild ride. But overall, I think I would say it was a very, very, very good pregnancy. I was very, very blessed. I was tired and a little dizzy and stressed and itchy with the pups rash, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And yeah, I'm curious what Vince had to say, and I'm excited to do our talk, both of us.
And we're back.
Hey,
We're both back.
we're back. We made it.
We made it
Yep.
in one piece. So I guess one thing that I kind of remembered based off of when even like we were first started dating was I remember you were terrified of being pregnant. That was like your biggest fear. You were afraid to be pregnant. You wanted to be pregnant. You wanted to have kids one day,
of
but
course.
you were just terrified of it. And then I also remember that you could not swallow a pill or a vitamin to save your life.
Oh, absolutely.
It had to be like cut into like 5 sections, melted, turn into a liquid, and then maybe you would take a little sip. Like you just could not swallow any sort of vitamins or, Pepto-Bismol had to always be liquid form. It was
I think
just.
it only was. There's probably pills.
I think there is. I don't know.
Who cares?
But regardless, I just remember you couldn't do that. And then next thing you know, you were pregnant with 3 babies, and then you had to have every vitamin that Vitamin Shop and GNC and all that could provide. You pretty much go to the store and be like, yes, just all of them. I just need all of them for just today.
Yes.
I'm coming back tomorrow. I'm going to buy your
And
whole
it was
stock.
twice a day. Because
Yeah.
there were so many of each one I had to take. It had to be broken up into 2 segments of the day. I mean, no one's like really understanding how much it is until you're like really staring at the pill box I had to take. And then it was like a chore filling up that thing every week. I'm like exhausted trying to do all this math, pill math. I don't know.
You're not the best at math.
No.
It's not your favorite subject. So you had to do math. You had to swallow vitamins. You had to be pregnant. These were all the things that you were afraid of.
Yeah.
And you took it like a champ. You did that.
It's a situation where you'll do anything for your kids. And I really, really do believe that because I really was scared of the doctor. I was scared of getting all these things done to me. And as soon as I would sit on the table and they were like, we need to do this, we need to do this, take your blood, which really freaked me out. Probably freaks out a lot of people. Take your blood, do all these things. And you're just like, yeah, whatever you got to do. And it's like your fear's gone and it's anything to make sure that they're okay because that's all you want. Because as soon as you find out they're okay, you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. It's a huge, huge relief. I mean, you're never not, still they're born, they're sleeping upstairs right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope they're okay. So, and now at least we can see them and interact with them and, make sure everything's okay. But when you're pregnant, it's a whole different story. You're just really, really hoping with each appointment that everything's going okay. And I was pretty excited that we had a lot of appointments.
Yeah.
At the time it was kind of a lot to go as much as we were, but all the pictures we got, nobody gets as many ultrasound pictures as we got.
Yeah, we created a straight up book. I
Yeah.
mean, we filled up all the pages, went through, because it got to the point where it wasn't just like every couple months, it was like every week.
Yeah.
Didn't it get to a point where it was almost like every day? Or it was like every
towards
other
the
day.
end.
It started, we were constantly going in there.
Yeah.
And I know a couple times your mother and my mother would go these ultrasounds,
Yeah.
and they're always like, why isn't Vincent like chipper and stuff? And like I was just holding my breath.
You were really nervous.
I get really nervous. I wonder why from the first one. Big surprises. But every time they're like, okay, now we're gonna check baby A, and I'm like, they're like, baby A is okay. Oh, okay, thank God. Now we're gonna check baby B. Oh crap.
And he would always say it again, like we'd be moving on to a different topic, and he'd be like, "So, baby B, that's fine, right?" They're like, "Yeah, no, we said." Okay, I'm just making sure. He was which was so cute, and I feel like I hope all dads do that. I hope all dads get involved. I know like everybody's different, but as a mom that was really it was really nice to have a husband so involved in all the visits and the checkups, and he would help me sort all my pills, and he would help me, take my pregnancy weekly photos and everything. So he was just like, a huge support system. I am blessed beyond words to have somebody that dealt with all my, oh my gosh, I need to eat, or like, can you go get me this really quick, or like all this like stupid crap that you put up with.
Yeah, and I think I speak for everyone when you have to finally make that Instagram post, because that was stressful. That was stressful to get those pictures of you pregnant all the time, because you were never in the mood. You never wanted to do it. I'm like, you're going to want to do this, and you're going to get mad at me. And then we also had to include our dog, and our dog never wanted to behave.
I know.
And it was a lot. And we have these pictures. So
it's coming soon. I will post all my weekly pregnancy pictures. It's just so much to edit.
It's so much. It's so much. It is exhausting.
But
anyways, back to the pregnancy. You know what I wish we both would have talked about? Our actual pregnancy doctor, Dr. Ali Al-Husani.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. He was great. I
really didn't like him at first.
And now he's gonna know that. You had weird thoughts about him at first.
No, and I'm gonna follow up. It's not that I didn't like him. I was unsure. He was like a new doctor. I had never met him before. And the first time I met him, he was very, not intense, but just very serious. And it was kind of hard to like, I had to kind of work my way to feel comfortable with him and everything. And then literally like the next time we saw him, because he took me on as a patient, and we were I was only seeing him as a doctor, which actually was great for, follow-ups and everything. But it was like the next appointment, I felt like I knew him completely. Like we clicked. I had no issue. I don't know what it was, and I feel so bad, but like he was such a nice guy. Amazing. I mean, I could call him about anything if I needed it. He was very like thorough and with all, responsive to questions I had during, certain ultrasounds and everything. He was like really funny sometimes, which helped.
My favorite was when they start to measure the babies, and I guess the babies were doing really great, and they had a good weight and all that stuff, and he'd come in and be like, "We got big babies." He was always get so excited. He's like, "We got big babies." And get me pumped up.
Whoa, all right,
and it get
cool.
me pumped up and get us excited. He's like, "This is great. We got big babies." And I'm like, "All right." So then after that, I would laugh, and I just go to myself and be like, "Lauren, we got big babies."
And I'm like, "I know, I can't breathe." Like I can't
She's like,
eat
"What?"
either.
And I'm like, "We got big babies."
Gosh, no,
and
but
they
seriously,
are big babies. I mean, they were big babies.
Yeah,
but we'll talk more about that once they're born. But yeah, they were good sized babies. They were big babies.
Yeah, but I thought it was really cute how you kept talking about how you thought I looked really nice, because I didn't feel that way, but it's very sweet to hear. Yeah, and I was like, he knows I'm going to hear this podcast. He's trying to get some brownie points.
Just a little bit.
That was very cute.
Well, I try to think of something that dads don't necessarily think about when they're
for sure. I don't think
pregnant.
before they're pregnant that men even think like that.
Yeah, and that was something that I don't want to say the word surprised me, but that was something that I didn't really think that I would experience as much. I thought it'd be like, my wife. Of course, I love my wife. Of course, she looks great. Of course, I think she's beautiful. But I'm gonna have to be dealing with you constantly being hungry, or you're getting sick, or I got to drive here and there to go wherever. I didn't think that part was going to be it was just a different experience that I wasn't expecting. And I encourage that for men. It's like, no, don't worry. Like when they're pregnant, you love them even more because you're just in awe of like you're creating a human inside you. And for your case, you were creating 3 humans and you're just in this awe that, like I said, I just remember growing up, my dad used to say that about my mom.
Yeah.
And this would be, like I said, even if my mom wasn't even in the room, he'd just be like, yeah, like, you know, your mom was always like really beautiful when she was pregnant because they had 4 kids. And I just thought like, okay, you know, that's something nice you say so they feel good. But really, I mean, you look like you're pregnant. I didn't get it. But once you got pregnant, it clicked. And I was like, this is something that no one really talks about.
Right.
So that's why I kept bringing it up. And yes, and of course, I'm always trying to get brownie points.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what good husbands do.
Okay.
You got to get the good brownie points.
Yeah.
Because one day it'll be in your favor.
It's true.
So.
It's true. But pregnancy, yeah, it was nuts. I do give you a lot of credit. I felt like you dealt with a lot of.
I think we need to repeat that. So I get a lot of credit.
Gosh.
I get everything. Okay, got it.
Oh man, but it was hard. I was scared all the time. I mean, and you can't really show it. I mean, you can, but you have to be strong about it.
So I guess what were you more afraid of? Because you've kind of had this kind of theme of like a mom bear thing. Were you more afraid of the babies, or are you more afraid of you just being pregnant, or is it a mix of both? What was kind of the fears that you had while you were pregnant?
I think it was just the fear of the unknown. So never been pregnant before, so I'm afraid of birth, obviously. I'm afraid of I'm doing something wrong. Like, could I be sleeping too much? Could I be eating the wrong things? Not eating enough, eating too little, not drinking enough water. You know, there's all these like crazy things. Did I forget to take a pill today? Did I, you know, forget to do all these things? Like, there's just so much that runs through your head that you're like, oh my gosh, if I don't do this one thing, something can happen and I'll never forgive myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That if I would have done X, then this wouldn't have happened. So just like beyond blessed that all 3 babies are happy, healthy, 9-month-old babies right now.
Yeah.
Just like no words, because you hear all these moms and, you know, families that go through a lot during a pregnancy. And I just can't even imagine, you know, their struggles and their hardships, because there are struggles and hardships, but I think everybody has their own unique ways of handling them and their own unique struggles too. But yeah, just very blessed that everything worked out. I mean,
yeah. No, I know that was the reason too why we had to go to a specialist. And I remember when we were first starting to go to a specialist, the first doctor we saw was pretty much giving us like, here's every worst case scenario that could happen.
right, and they have to. Like,
They have to, but the whole time I'm freaking like, oh my gosh, is this happening right now? And they had to keep telling me like, no, this isn't happening to your babies right now, but this could happen. This and this could
anything that's
happen.
worst case scenario, they basically informed us is ×3, obviously. So
Yeah.
if this can happen to a singleton pregnancy, it's 3 times as likely to happen. You have 3 times the chance that it could happen to you, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So, okay, bye. Now go home and sleep. Like, I don't know. It's
I mean,
it's so crazy.
It was a lot, and they were constantly checking stuff, and that's why we were constantly getting ultrasounds, because they had to really, really monitor each baby, making sure each baby was doing what it was supposed to be doing, making sure that there wasn't any complications or issues. And the fact that really we only had one emergency room situation, which really kind of solved itself. We really never found out what was the issue.
I know.
It's a huge blessing, because there's a lot of people that are probably pregnant with just even one baby. Constantly going to the emergency room. There's constantly, you know, complications and issues. And it's just, I don't know. I think God was in a way being like, hey, you got 3 babies. This is going to be a lot. We can tone down your complications a little bit or something. I don't know. It just worked out how it did, and we had our own challenges.
Yeah.
And we had our own successes, just like everybody. And, you know, if there's people out there that have triplets or twins or quads or just even singletons, If your pregnancy is the worst thing on planet Earth, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you or there's anything wrong with the baby or any of that situation. It's just everyone's different. I mean, and it's just crazy how it all worked out.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
So I guess, is there anything else that you think we should add? Anything else you think we should include?
I just want to say the November 15th thing, as soon as the doctor said, here's your scheduled C-section, I know you touched on it in your individual, I was going to make it to that day. It was like in my brain, I'm like, this is happening. I wish I would have touched on it in my individual. But I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the day. I'm about to have 3 kids, November 15th. And it's like, got to a point where my doctor was like, you did it. You know, you graduated. It wasn't November 15th yet. And he's like, if you have these babies anytime now till November 5th, like, you're totally fine. The babies will be fine. And I was like, no. November 15th is the day that I'm having 3 babies. I wrote it on the calendar.
She wrote it on the calendar.
And it's going to happen. And I remember why. I can't believe I didn't talk about that. Well, I guess it's not I was still pregnant.
Yeah, you were super pregnant.
He didn't drop me off at the front of the hospital. You know, like they do in the movies.
Because you specifically told me not to. I asked you. You don't remember. I said, I drove by. I said, do you want me to just drop you off here? And you're like, no, I don't want to be alone. I'm like,
I didn't.
okay.
Who wants to be alone?
I'm
That's
like,
scary.
okay. So then we parked right next to the entrance.
We did. But we were in a parking structure that was a couple levels up. So it was a pretty far hike, and there was a skywalk. So I had to walk across the whole skywalk. I was carrying all my stuff. I'm carrying 3 babies as well. And I walk up to the front desk.
Watched. I didn't carry anything.
I said, hi, I would like to deliver 3 babies today. I still can't believe that happened.
You laugh, but that's what she did.
No, that's literally
she
what
walked
happened.
in like a boss, said, hello, I'm here to deliver 3 children today.
Where do I sign? Where do I sit?
Where do I go?
Where do I go?
I can't breathe anymore.
I'm
but
done. I want to eat a burrito.
Yeah. I'm just gonna give birth to 16 burritos. I don't know.
But I'm personally proud of myself for reaching that goal. So everybody's like, you can just say 35 weeks. It's like, no, it's 34 and 6 days, because that is November 15th. And I'm not rounding up.
I always think you should round up.
I know, but it's
because they said, that's your 35 week mark is November 15th. But in reality, the doctor was just available on a Friday instead of the Saturday. But you know what? You made it to that date.
Yeah, that's my. I'm gonna be. You know what? We're gonna be truthful about that.
We're gonna be truthful.
I'm proud of it still.
I didn't know that until like after the babies were born. Like, 34 weeks and 6 days. I'm like, no, it's 35 weeks. Like, well, no, technically it's the 6th day. And I was like, this is trash. But
That's fine.
It's fine. It's great.
Do you have anything else?
Do I have anything else?
Yeah.
No, I think we covered it actually pretty well.
Cool.
I think we did.
Me too.
There was definitely, I feel like there's going to be stuff that I'm going to remember.
Oh, for sure.
Particularly with this one. Go, oh, yeah, I remember when you were pregnant, this and this was going on. But we like to keep this nice and condensed for our listeners. And who knows, we might make an episode another day where we kind of come back to this and kind of get a little bit more in depth of something.
For sure.
But for now, I think we're all set.
Sweet.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yep. We'll see ya.